SMT Nation, We Back Nation. We've got some disclosures from Verizon's executive vice president, and I believe he would be basically the president of technology, right? Global network team. This is kind of important, I would say, to the future of the Verizon network. Joe Russo talking about 5G standalone networking and kind of giving us an updated view on how Verizon sees their future network operations. All right, so this is pretty big. Gives us some insights onto what he thinks, how the company is moving, and what we can expect from their commercial network in the future, what direction Verizon is going in. All right, I'll be sure to link the article for you. It'll be in the description. Also, there in the description, you can find different ways to support us here on the SMT YouTube channel. All right, so Joe Russo, taking over for Kamalady, who was at the company for a very long time, still with the company, just at a different position. All right, so Kamalady moves over to the business side, and Joe Russo takes over with the technology side, and it's all eyes on him when it comes to the network. It's his vision, it's his plan, it's his course of actions when it comes to execution. All right, now one of the things that everybody's asking about is standalone 5G. The 5G network core, which is going to enable all types of different customizations, higher bandwidth amounts in different channels and frequencies, and all these new 5G use cases and applications. All right, now, if you ask most people who are within the industry, I think we can all agree T-Mobile kind of seems to be the trailblazer with respect to standalone 5G operations, and it actually makes total sense. They've had the highest amount of bandwidth within their network for the longest in terms of time. So them progressing a little bit sooner and being faster to it makes more sense. Now, the thing that you always have to make sure is when you adopt new technologies, when you kind of step into a new arena, you step cautiously. And I think that's kind of Verizon's play here. Their basically disclosure is, that we want to see this thing work. In fact, he kind of spoke to it directly and said, for me, I want to make sure that if we're deploying a standalone core, it's really going to benefit customers and it's not going to be a step back in any way. Because the thing about the Verizon network, folks, is it can't be an experimental network. That's just not on the table for them. It's not an option. All right, for them, they have first responders, they have agencies, they have large-scale businesses, small, medium businesses, and they have consumers who have known the Verizon network to be the most reliable. So if they jeopardize that, it's going to really tarnish their legacy, and it's going to tarnish, their identity. So they need to preserve that, and it's part of their marketing, it's part of their calling card, and those things. So, I don't blame them for erring on the side of caution, and there's a lot of things you need to make this whole 5G SA thing a reality. You need high capacity fiber circuits scaled to national. You need lots of bandwidth. You can't launch standalone networking with 40 or 50 megahertz of spectrum, right? We're talking about hundreds of megahertz of spectrum in terms of bandwidth need to be deployed in multiple frequency layers, working together congruently to create, hands down, a high quality, high capacity, low latency networking experience. And all that stuff has to be there. And that stuff takes time. So I know T-Mobile wants to be the first, and I commend them for that. I can respect that. Being the first, being the trailblazer is great. But it looks like Verizon unwilling to just kind of jump in without any careful thoughts, considerations. They're going to step lightly, and I think that's wise to do. Maybe T-Mobile was at the liberty to have some things on their side to give them that opportunity, and that's cool. But Verizon has been a little bit more cautious in doing this. All right, now when it comes to network superiority, those things, 5G networking is not really the end-all be-all. It's one entire network in most companies' eyes. You got 4G LTE legacy technology, I guess. You got 5G. The whole thing is the network. So if one part is compromised, the whole thing is compromised. And I think Verizon understands that, and they don't want to chance that. But that, the jury's out. We're going to find out who's going to do this 5G networking thing in a big way. I trust Verizon to be on the cutting edge and to also offer a stable and good experience. I think T-Mobile has come a long way, and they've improved their networking quality as well. They've stabilized their network a lot over the past several years. It's gotten bigger. It's gotten better. So they'll be going at it. They'll be racing to be the best, I suppose, if that's a thing. But the one last thing I will mention is the one thing that Verizon seems to be on the cutting edge with is virtualizing their network. And I think that's going to be bigger for Verizon than just saying, we're going to launch a standalone core. Look out for the virtualization piece. If you guys want to do a little bit of reading on something with respect to 5G networking, look up vRAN. Don't worry so much about ORAN, right? ORAN is obviously going to be big for the flexibility of like vendor hardware and things like that. But I think the vRAN piece for Verizon is going to be a difference maker because they've already deployed and built, constructed, operating 15,000 of their cell tower sites that are vRAN enabled. I think that's probably more meaningful to them as a company. So be on the lookout for that to offer, really big benefits for them. With respect to us as consumers, we'll wait and see when this stuff kind of, I guess matures a little bit better and we kind of can feel it and experience it within our networking experience, right? On our devices, on our home internet, and those types of things. But what do you guys think of the disclosures? What do you think about Verizon's directions? Do you agree with Joe Russo's take? Do you think they should be a little bit more aggressive? Or do you think they should play it cautious? Why do you guys think, give me a reason for that. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. Should they continue this way or should they be more like T-Mobile? You guys can sound off in the comment section below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.